What's up, guys? And we arrive. Issues with the network today. We said we're gonna start it at 6, but then towards me finishing the second episode, you would have heard me saying 7, because I thought by then I should have had it fixed and stuff. So I just went off and just bought data on the telecom net line, because today rain is on a break, and so we're gonna excuse them. So on this particular subject, we are going to handle. Last time you'll remember that we had actually started the subject about the Messiah on the cross, if you remember that, to say when the Messiah is on the cross, there's something he says. And you'll remember that's where we ended off. We say we're going to do a little prayer thing, and you can go into study. And so I wanted to invite our friends. What Samsams are there? I wanted to invite our friends, the Samsams, on this subject here. So on the topic, you might see water initiation is actually very dangerous. The dangers of water initiation. This subject is going to transition us into that message of the Messiah on the cross with water initiation. We're going to start it with water initiation. We're going to take it from there and then bring it into here. So next week, we'll then further it all the way within what Christians preach, basically. That's how we can put it. We're going to further it with what Christians preach. I will introduce it here and how it fits into this narrative here. Ne? And so today, because we are late, we're not going to run it too long. Ne? Maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes max. And so, but you guys can call in. Remember last time we did say that this subject, we have to discuss it. So you guys, whatever you studied, whatever you read on it. So my struggle today and yesterday, finishing it up, this subject actually started, the inspiration or the direction for it, it started last week when I was in Durban. And I was at the beach. And while I was at the beach, just sitting there, getting hit by the sun. Hey, Durban sun. The Durban sun does not have mercy at all. It was hot. But I was sitting there and some Sangomas were coming and they were doing their washing. And so that's when this subject's inspiration came from. It was me seeing them doing their rituals. And I was thinking and meditating upon this message of the last words of the Messiah on the cross as it goes into our redemption message. And so why did I want to start here? I want us to remember one thing that also kind of affirms the Christian walk, or speaks of the Christian walk, is this journey. In this particular journey of being a Christian, is baptism, right? Is baptism. And baptism particularly, it's not our death. Baptism is not reflecting on it. We are going directly into it. Ne? But before we go there, let me acknowledge people in the comment section. I know you guys are waiting for it. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. I was just like, no, we have to get it done. And so before we go into the subject, baptism, we'll come back to that one. As Messi says, at least I'm home by this time to partake at least. Yeah, no, thank you, leadership. And so we're going to shift the live streams from 4. We're going to start it at 6 o'clock. The target is 6 o'clock. Then we'll move it forward from there so that people are at home. We know that we have people who go to like churches that observe the Sabbath and so forth. So we want them also to be at home as well. Miriam says, Alul, all all that late. Now it was network issues, leadership. Karina, how are you doing? Please do give us an update on how you have started your evangelism, It's one throw in. Remember, Sister Karina told us about her maid that works with her who is from ZCC. So leadership, slowly but surely, So let's equip each other so that we are effective at our ministries. We are working for each other's rewards here. Together, collective. Leadership, how are you doing? No documentary says hi to everybody. Truth only, greetings. Back, be back. No problem, Malwati, you'll find us here. Israel says leadership. Rainers, hey, sometimes it goes a little bit off and off, but it's not that bad. Thank God, it's not that bad where I am. But when it does this, I kind of just call the guy who fixes it up for me, and then he's the one who registered the SIM card, and he does something. I don't know what if he resets it. So he's not online today, but I can understand he is a married man. So yeah, that's why I just went on to buy the data. Bazalwani evening. Saints glad to be back. Danko leadership. Danko, she's back. Rain is really making it hard for the data to space today. Oh, is it raining where you are, leadership? I'm not sure if it's raining here. Can you imagine? I haven't even checked outside. Things is evening Bible studies. Danko leadership. We are here. We will dissect this matter. Deeper. It says deeper. Acknowledges the deeper. Thank you very much for this topic. I was wondering when you will do a Bible study on water baptism. We'll get further into water baptism, particularly next week. Okay? Yes. Today, we are introducing the subject by including our some subjects. Okay? So, we are bringing those that are busy doing rituals. We want them to see something. There's something that I want them to see here so that they are aware. As they claim spiritual authority in doing what they are doing, we're going to just give them a heads up. And the lucky part about it is that this video will be up for the next 7 days before we do that particular study. And so we hope that they would have seen it. And so next week, do come and all bundled up. So we're going to introduce the water baptism subject. But the water baptism subject is going to be right within that atonement aspect. You'll see what I mean by that just in a second. Aku ena ya bulelaka baptism today. Hey, leadership, you are hitting me with the language there. Okay, so which particular direction? Why am I saying Sangoma's practice of ritual water is dangerous? Let's go there straight. And the reason why I want to start it there is because within the Jewish culture, there's something called a mikvah, right? And if you look at the ceremony that the Sangomas go through, and you look at the ritual of mikvah, which was done by Jews, they still do it till date. You can find full information about it and all that entire Hajjaz. If you look at that, I forgot to pin the comment, right? I forgot to pin the comment. Call in link. I want you to see the dangers of this. And today it's only an introduction. Next week, I want us to go a little bit more deeper. And so this week, some days I might not publish 3 videos because I need to finish some certain areas of study. You will understand next week why, because even after, because this week was a little bit of a rest for me, if you noticed. Let me search church reality check. And so I wasn't fully finishing off the study. But then there is a certain direction that I want you to see. Let me pin this comment first. Okay, right here. All right. Can you see is the message pinned? Is the comment for the what? Is it pinned over there? Okay. The reason why I wanted us to start there is so that we can carry them. Our goal is to evangelize to every soul. That's our goal. Our mission in life is that we reach as many souls as possible for the gospel. Hi, Bo, what happened to my sound? Okay, just give me a second. Okay. So I said, okay, my phone was doing the opposite. Yeah, and also just not so that this phone does not surprise me, let me plug up the charger here. Yeah. I don't want issues in the middle of the stream. It just decides to switch off. I don't want that. Okay. So first thing, I introduced the mikvah thing. If you go and look up the mikvah, what you will notice about it is that the way in which it was done and for what reasons it was done ahead of time. Like, for example, it was made, okay, as Messi says, it is pinned. Danko leadership, Danko. Says that, so the mikvah was actually done in preparation towards the Shabbat. It was also made as to acknowledge cycles. And it was also done like maybe if you went through some, for women particularly, if you went through your period, when you will then do that as a cleansing, right? But also it was done also for transitions. Okay, the mikvah, that is, which is a ritual, Jewish ritual thing. Now remember, the Jews were still looking at shadows. Note that. Now, they would do the same thing. They would do the washing before their prayers. So before they actually render their prayers, they would also do mikvah. In certain places, they would wash their hands and wash. The Muslims saw that shadow, and they copied the same thing, but they don't understand what it was. It was just a way of presenting one in an unclean form to acknowledge the purity of what you're about to get into, meaning getting into holy work, basically, in simple words. Getting into holy work, you needed a form of cleansing. But the cleansing wasn't the thing. It was just a shadow. Note. Now, how was the mikvah done, right? How was the mikvah done? Karina is also responding, says, I don't know if I told you a while ago that I have given her a gospel a few years ago, so she didn't understand it. Don't worry, leadership. Slowly but surely, also keeping her in prayer, it will definitely get across. We don't force the message, slowly but surely. Just one point at a time. We definitely have you there in our prayers. For wisdom, particularly to know how to communicate the message to her. And so the transition part, ne? So since it was done in preparation of Shabbat and during cycles, in acknowledgement of change of cycles, and also in transitions, when the copy religions, when all these copy religions came up, they then took that idea of preparation for holy work, they made it a part of their religion. They made it a part of their religion. But remember, it was just a shadow. Good evening, Elizabeth. How are you doing? Wonderful to have you. And so they made it a part of that, but they don't understand. It was just a shadow. It wasn't meant to simplify, to illustrate purity or you getting into purity in order for you to do holy work. It wasn't meant to do that. It was just a shadow of what holy works reverence, like reverence for holy work. Shalom, shalom, Nathan. Hope you good, my eldership. So notice that. But then there was another one, which is where I kind of hung on for a while, which is the mikvah, remember, which is this form. Basically what it was, you would walk into, they used to have this pool, and the pool would be connected to a natural body of water. So it would either be rainwater, river or something like that. Every single mikvah must have some form of connection to a body of water, but with a natural source. So it must have a natural source. You can add on top of it, but it must have some sort of a natural flow to it. Now this natural flow idea goes back into how then they, the Jews, would then present themselves to this work. You were supposed to take a shower before you actually walk in to the mikvah, right? So you took a shower, you cleaned yourself up. If you had anything, or you removed it. So you got as close to your natural self as possible. And then you presented yourself. Now, how does this come up to our dear beloved Sangomas? Watch impurity now. Watch how impurity makes sure that they are initiated into something else. And I'm still going to address the baptism aspect from how it takes it from the mikvah to what it is now. Them, Sangomas, they have a goat or an animal killed before this ritual is done. Right? Before they go for their water cleansing, whatever's. Before they go there, they would then actually go and kill an animal before they initiate you into the particular spirit that you are communicating for, whether be a gogo or an uncle or your parents who have passed on. So in order for them to get you be initiated into that spirit particularly, they would then kill an animal, and then now you are initiated. But notice, the original from where they stole it, you were not connected to anything. As a matter of fact, you walked in naked into the mikvah. But they walk in with impurities of their lineage or whatever comes up before that. Okay, interesting. So the blood, therefore, that then flows, it speaks of what? Spiritual interference. Remember, blood is a representation of life, right? And so it's more like you are raising a spirit with the flow of the blood. You are raising that spirit, and it becomes the means by which you communicate. And then when you raise up communication, remember the incense that they burn in the Old Testament, also speaking of the voices of our prayers unto God. So you are raising the voice, which comes from where? From that spirit that you were initiated into. So that blood, you gave life. You gave life to a particular spirit, not your ancestor. Stop insulting your ancestors, please. Okay? Not wrong with your ancestors. There were people that they were other. Some of them, they were not born again. Some of them were otherwise. Tamara, how are you doing, dear? And so, and Lizzie, how are you doing? Nice to have you. Charity, hello, hello, hello. Church talk, leadership, always wonderful to see you, man. So, not only do they go from blood it speaks of life. So now you have now poured down water, and then you have now been initiated. So you've been roped into the spirit. You've flowed blood to speak of a life that you are trying to speak up. You are trying to now, in order for that spirit to speak, you need to burn incense to raise up that voice. Okay. But that blood that flowed, giving life to thingy, is the one that you are then going towards the ritual. So the ritual of the water that the Sangomas are going through, it stems from the blood that flowed before they walked into. My goodness, the devil is smart for the black man. He wants you in hell ASAP. He wants you in hell ASAP. Before we notice how it then figures towards the Bible. We acknowledge the work of the cross, the blood that flowed. And then we, in acknowledgement, In acknowledgement, we then come to the water, not to speak of our death, but to speak as a testimony. It doesn't say anything about us. The water baptism doesn't say anything about it. Says something about our proclamation to other people. But to them, they are entering into now that transition part that I spoke about, which the mikvah was supposed to actually represent. If you think about this, the devil has just replicated Christianity into African traditions, and they still think they have something different that they're doing. You killed an animal to give life, so that next time when you burn the incense and you are raising up a voice, whatever voice, they can never speak. Like a Sangoma cannot speak without burning incense. They need to raise up that voice. You gave it life when you poured down the blood. You are the high priest. You are high priest, making a presentation of a sacrifice to a particular voice. Okay, now watch the blasphemy go forward. Remember, in the mikvah, it was a natural body of water that was supposed to be there, right? There is no ritual for sangomas which is done outside a river. They are all done at a river. You go back to ZCC, where do they do their thingy? They all want all this water from the river. But notice that you were supposed to be naked with nothing. So all the things that you would have carried from a natural thing, you are supposed even to take a shower before you go to doing the mikvah. But these ones, what do? They are bathed in diabolic blood of an animal and then made a presentation. So you carried something into that ritual. The ritual water that they then take on. Biggest deception that's been spoken over. And then from there, they will go on to do the dancing ritual and what. Now, I'm not a Sangoma, so I was never a Sangoma, so I can't tell you more details on that. But if a person if you were a Sangoma or you were about to be a Sangoma, you can then take all these things that we are talking about and just go back and look back at the things that we go through as Christians and go back and look at what goes on that side. I'm telling you, the devil mimicked the same thing. He took the shadows and he made them literals, and he found a way to infiltrate and present you as high priest. You are the one who's now blaspheming God, not just him. You are now blaspheming God because now you are the one that presented the life. You are the one that brought up that life. The same way Jesus went through the water as a way of taking on priesthood. And then after that is done, we then are, that's why he says he is the firstborn. Okay. Now, there's something that I want you to note here. The mikvah, something that I should mention, was also done. The mikvah was also done in preparation for the Day of Atonement, which was the Yom Kippur. You can go research these things after. You can go research this. It was also done in preparation to the Day of Atonement, also known as the Yom Kippur. Now, the bravery. If you are thinking the part that I was just talking about the blood that they killed before, which is made for them to raise a life, burning incense so that they can invoke that spirit, we have the blood of Christ flow down from the thingy. And guess who is speaking in that entire time? Remember last time I mentioned, in that entire period, when Christ is on the cross, he says very little things. We're going to go back into that next week. Today, I wanted us to really hang on these ones so that they can see how the deception has heavily laid upon what they call their own religion. Watch out. So, the Yom Kippur was the Day of Atonement. Now remember, they killed an animal. They burn incense. which is what you used to do inside the temple, right? But notice something here that gets very diabolical. Some people, when they come out of the water, they say they see a snake or they see some sort of an animal when they walk out of the water. Some say as a matter of fact, some even go to the water knowing that there are, like, for example, the lady that I put on the thumbnail, which is Zodwa Wabantu. She said, she's been initiated to Inkoskazi Yamanzi. I think that's what she said, which is a mermaid. So you are going towards now another Jesus. I even struggled with that part. So you are going to be initiated to this particular spirit, right? Now notice something. For us, our water experience or our baptism experience, it's to one who is alive. We were not baptized until Christ died and he resurrected. So Christ died and he resurrected. So our baptism is to one who is alive. To them, it's to one who is dead. Hello? To them, it is one who is dead that they are. So your grandmother came to you in your dreams, your forefathers, your ancestors, whatever, they came to you in your dreams, and they are the ones to whom you are being baptized. Yes, you are being baptized to through that water ritual that you are going through. So notice here, baptized unto death, we are baptized unto life. Why? Because Christ is alive. The one whom we are being baptized to is alive. In the simplicity of what I'm saying. Let me go with the comments here. Ne? Let me go with the comments. I don't want to miss. Maybe you guys are also hinting at some very big revelations there. Okay, leadership. How thou leadership. You changed your name, so I cannot see you there. It's Pastor BJ, guys. Leadership, how are thou? I'm paying attention. Danko leadership. Awesome to see you. Karabo, how are you doing? Hi, leadership. Dube is here, guys. Asmelabati says the ZCC does the cleansing by raising themselves after the normal bath with the special water after 7 days of being here. Leadership, you'll have to tell me that one properly. Can't you call in? Can't you call in, leadership? Yes, call in, even if it's for 5 minutes, so that I can understand this particular ritual that you are saying they go through over there. Because the devil has copied and he has pasted in all these religions, the Zionists, whatnot, all this. And not all Zionists, let's be very clear. Some Zionists are actually very clean, but some Zionist branches or Ziocha, whichever ones, they are very filthy. They also just the same way. These guys, they are baptized into their ancestors' surname or whatever. You know, like when they say Isbong again, like your clan name or whatever that is. Like, for instance, I've said, me, I almost said my surname. Me, I am Endo. So they would, if they were initiating me there, they would initiate me to the Endos in other ways. And so please, leadership, if you can, call for 2 minutes so that I can understand that particular ritual and we can take it on further. It can be very beneficial. Leadership, always spot on. Your content is Danko leadership. Danko leadership. The Zulus call it a goat, imbuzi, and meaning it's a soul speaking and pleading for her. Hey, yeah. So that spirit that you have been initiated to can actually swallow you. But because it's a process of death, you are the high priest. You are the same way you see last week when we said Jesus on the cross, he is both high priest and the sacrifice. He is both of them. The same way you go back to Abraham and Isaac, the Father is present at that moment, and also the sacrifice, the Son is present. Even when you go to Jesus, when he's on the cross, God the Father is there, and then Jesus, the high priest, the sacrifice is there, all present moment. So the goat is to therefore plead for their soul, so the spirit can swallow you, or the water can swallow you. Some people have actually been said that they go there, they don't come back. Some have said that they get inside the water, they go into whatever world, and they go there, they live and whatnot and stuff like that. And so it's not foreign. It's a different initiation, but into death. Those you are initiated to are unto death. Jesus is alive. When we say the importance of that statement, he lives. Like the same way they have it in Israel. When you get to places where they say that he died, they have it on the top there. He lives. He's risen. And so us, we are baptized into one who is alive. They are baptized into the same way. They don't see it as baptism. That's what it is. You are baptized into one who is dead. But not only that, you were made to kill an animal so that you will atone for yourself. The insult of claiming. When did you become high priest? When did you stand at right to performing the rites of a high priest? And notice, to perform the rites of a high priest, there were certain rituals you had to do before. They would go there, wash you, whatnot, do what, before you could actually make things. So who is pleading for you when you do this? The goat. Interesting comment, leadership. Refila, how are you doing? Lucky says it is a counterfeit and in an insult to the sacrifice. Yes, you can say that again, leadership. Especially if you're looking at the Yom Kippur part, that when the baptism, initially, when you look back into the Yom Kippur, because when they did the Yom Kippur, the mitzvah, which was the baptism view of baptism from the Jewish perspective, when they were doing it towards the atonement, it was in acknowledgement of being reconciled with God. Now, these ones, the Sangomas, they are doing it in reconciling themselves to their ancestor. Hey, God punished the devil. God punished the devil. It is an insult of the highest order. This year, so again. This year we won't give them rest. Bazalani, the act of going through that process, the act in itself, you are saying that you are greater because you have now presented your own blood. That's why the Bible emphasizes Christ went with his own blood. In the New Testament, it actually says, can I Google that verse? Because I can't remember it exactly. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Oh, yes. It's Hebrews. It's Hebrews chapter number 9. Okay. I wanted to see if I could find it. Danko Google for being a memory for all of us Christians who can't memorize every verse. We just know it's there. Not a bad thing. You must just know that it's there. That way it makes it easier for you to. Rather like it. That's a very powerful point. And so, and it says that he went through the great. Hey, Jesus. No. I need to start this verse. If it's this verse, I need to start it. I remember it when we did the Hebrew studies, if you remember. But when Christ came as a high priest of the good things that have come, he went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle that is not made of hands. Now you bear in mind, Bazalan, this thing is an insult to God. Stop claiming that your ancestors will present you unto God. They cannot do that. They don't have the right. And that verse there is a clue. Hebrews chapter number 9. It says not made of the greater. not made of hands. You are human. It took the will of man to create you. Hey, let me zoom my face here. let me zoom my face. It took the human will, as John chapter number 1 actually claims. It says that by human will were you born. Your parents wanted a child. That is human will that brought you about. This one says Christ, when Christ did that presentation of him presenting the offering himself, by the way, he did it not made this particular, because remember, he is a better tabernacle, not made of hands, and is not a part of this creation. Notice that. He's greater. This is Christ. He's greater. So your ancestors have no bearing of making that sacrifice. So you are now claiming to bring a sacrifice that justifies you and connects you to this particular. Okay, fine. Notice then verse number 12. If you claim that it is unto God, he did not enter by the blood of goats. Ooh, it provided an entryway. It's speaking of that thing that Brother Nathan actually mentioned just a comment ago. Not entering by the blood of goats, but he entered the most holy temple once for all by his own blood. What blood? My brother, my sister, who is an ancestral worshipper. What blood did thou enter with? The blood of a goat. And are you a better tabernacle? Are you a better creation than that? No, you are not. So why dare do it? Your bravery of going through that ritual. Hey, God punish the devil. God punish the devil. It is wicked, guys. But that's but that's securing an eternal redemption. Notice that ending part of verse number 12. It says, the laptop is a little bit funny. But he entered the most holy temple once and for all, but by his own blood. You needed goats. Thus securing an eternal redemption. What purpose does that blood of a goat actually do? Brother Nathan said it properly there. I'm going to go back to it. Okay? Can I find that? There we go. This is what it speaks, and it pleads for you. It is an insult, Bazix. That ritual is an insult to God. Brother Nduduzo, I'm coming just in a second, leadership. Okay, I'm gonna go just through a few comments. Danko, leader, thank you. And then I'll go forward. Thank you, Brother Nathan. That comment is spot on with the verse. This is what I mean when I say, when you come from that side, learn this side. Don't take what you learn there and then make it. Learn this side so that you will affirm what is biblically right. Okay, I was a witch. Then you now start telling us what we have no interest with that. We have no business with witchcraft. Dump that stuff in the dustbin. Learn Bible. Even those people that were ex-witches are telling us, hey, if you sleep on your left side, hey, my friend, you sleep on your left side, they will slap you. God punish the devil. And so Mzanzi says, I just joined the leadership. Nice to see you. Okay. Says Sangoma's devil didn't copy and paste, and they are similar to Christianity. Yeah, they copied our previous religion, which is Judaism. Okay, they copied that to mimic the rituals because these were given down by God. Do you see the thing? What about the candles? Hey, that's another subject, leadership. The candle subject it's another subject there. And so the issue here, let's go back there. I'll continue with the comment just now. Brother, and to do so, the network kicked you out. Just try to come back later on. So remember that thing. When you did the mikvah, you would then go there with nothing. You went in naked, as close as you were from how you were born. Then there is a sacrifice. Remember, they don't have right. This is why I've always said they don't have spiritual right to function in that area, to function in that realm where they are. Why? Because they were not born again. So you see, the thing that justifies us functioning as priests is that we were born again. So basically, we were passed. That's why the Bible uses the term you were passed from death unto life. So the baptism is not doing that, passing from death to life. It's the born again experience that does that. It crosses us over. Okay? Now, that crossing over, that's why you will remember in Hebrews, the Bible actually says, let me see if I can find this verse. If you can remember this verse here, you probably have heard me read this verse before. Chapter number 2, verse 11, right? And this is what this verse actually says. Let's put it up here. And it says, for both the one who sanctifies and those who are sanctified are the same family, are of the same family. So Jesus Christ is not ashamed to call them brothers. So you see, there is a unity here. And he's not talking about, this one is a believer, but he's a sinner. It's not talking about that. In redemption, we are connected back. We are reconnected with God. Okay, reconnected. So when he says, come unto the throne of grace with boldness, he's addressing that shame you would have carried. So he is not ashamed. This part, notice, hey, God punished the devil. God punished the devil. How dare you? Trying to play tricks with us. He's not ashamed to call them of the same family. Notice that. These people are being initiated into a family name, into a family tradition. Quotation marks. There's a new family association. This is why I always say this thing of you have family curses. What curse? Where did you get it? Read your Bible. Where does it come from? There is the one that I am now of a different family. And this family is not ashamed. It's not ashamed. In that union. Okay, let me leave that particular part, the union part. I'll come back to that point next week. Let me read some comments so that I can. The union is what he means when he says, he that is not ashamed of me, who is ashamed of me, I will be ashamed of him before my Father. And the one who is not ashamed, the one who is ashamed, I will be. So he will denounce those that are not. Okay, I'll come back to that unit. Because he's talking about his work. The shame part is his work. So there's something in the work of the Messiah while he's on the cross that has no shame. And yes, we can say it's the work of salvation. Yeah, that's very round. What exactly is it that Jesus did? Hey, what exactly did Jesus do when he was on the cross that makes him not ashamed? Remember, when you were on the cross, you were almost naked. You were almost naked. You only had a small little thing here covering you. But you were almost naked. Now remember the mikvah, how it was done. Can you see what's going on here? The mikvah was done almost naked, almost as close as you were to your birth. Because what it was meant to represent that aspect of not only just purity or coming into purity or coming into service work. So once you went through that work, you came out pure, you were ready for service work. Now, Bazalwane, we don't even do that all the time. We do it once. It is the work that is done once. The same way, so you come into salvation once. Now, can you see it goes back into that salvation position which I hold? Eternal salvation. I don't go back to the mikvah. The work that Christ did, he suffered the shame. The Bible speaks of that. So the shame aspect that he was talking about in Hebrews here, it speaks of the form of relationship that we have now entered into, where the shame was borne by Christ. You understand? In this family, I'm entering into a family of a life in pride. This is why Paul says, if I boast not of myself, but I boast of that I know him. It's my knowledge. It's not that I did something. No, it's my knowledge of him that I boast, that I know him. Wait for us. We are going there. Remember, the mikvah was done how? The mikvah was done almost naked. Christ suffers on the cross almost naked. So he goes through that process of death and rise. And then we are then baptized. The Bible says we are baptized into his death. Okay. So I wanted you to see that part there. The shame was there on the cross. And that shame was a presentation of death. So this is, notice how do the Sangomas come to acknowledging their cause? By shame. God punished the devil. Why? Because what happens is that they will suffer all kinds of things. They will go through all kinds of shameful things. My Bentley is dying. They will go through all kinds of shameful things. They will get fired from their jobs, whatnot, and all these things. So their ancestors, in their death, shamed them into this ritual that brings them into union, atonement. They don't go there naked, acknowledging the shame, no, they go carrying the filth of being self-priest, claiming yourself to be priesthood. There's a lot more. You can see how it's just too much, even for my small little brain to wrap around. There's a lot you can say about that. The shame was suffered by the Christ on the cross. He needs not to say anything while he's on that cross. Okay. Okay. Now, let me update myself with the comments here. I don't want to lose the comments. Lucky says, vitality to attaching yourself to the color and freebies of performing this witchcraft unknown does not sanctify you. And yeah, there's a lot more we can say about that one. That's why I'm avoiding going there, going into the practice aspect of it. Jennifer says, though he were God, he did not think it equal. Yes. Which now brings in that part of the. You see, Christ had the right of doing the service work. Okay, if you went back into that verse, okay, if you went back into that verse, for both he that sanctifies and those that are sanctified, they are one of one family. So Jesus is not ashamed to call them. So he can pronounce upon them absolution. He can claim them innocent. He can, and I like something that I think is JCTV who was talking about this very recently, and he was talking about the right hand of the of the right hand of and the left hand was a place of judgment. And so I thought that was very interesting. So he sits on the right hand where the authority of innocence has been declared. So it makes sense that he herds the kingdom and then he hands it over in righteousness and purity. He has judged it right. Notice, he has judged it right. Christ does that. Now, he says, those that I think they are in my hand and I will lose none. In his hand. Notice where they are. But then, if you go into Revelation, it speaks of, it is a fearful, is it Revelation? My bad. It might be another particular Bible verse. My head is racing here. It says it is a fearful thing to fall into the hand. So there is one side, Christ, where he says that those that are in my hand, I will lose none. But then there is one who falls into the hand of God. Okay. I'll make the connections. One is in the hand of Christ. So he has made a judgment. He has placed all his judgment on that one who is on Christ. But this one, he is not there. He falls into the hand. Judgment. So that part which he was talking about, the right hand and the left hand. So, okay, let me not go there. I'm restricted so that I don't end up wanting to jump into that particular. So that point that you are mentioning there of him not being equal to God, but did not see it thing to is that he had to be in human form. So when the devil is tempting him to say, use your God nature in order to satisfy your physical flesh with that particular miracle, what he is actually tempting him to do is to declare himself equal. Use your physical being, satisfy your physical being by your godly thing, which would have made him not fit to represent mankind, right? But in honor to doing it, he suffers as a man. They even mock him about it. If this man was so, would he not have 1,000 angels to come down? And you remember that particular thing, to show that he was humble. The same way, those that are going to be baptized into him would be baptized in human form. So the human form is the one that receives life into. Okay, I'll come back to that point just in a second. Okay. Just joined. Leadership, how art thou? Jane says more. The first time I found you live. Leadership has been watching you for ages. Leader, wonderful to have you. I'm glad you found us live today. Nadim, what are you guys talking about? We are talking about the dangers of rituals that are done by all these other religions, water rituals in to be particular, which are far from it. Okay, then I see other comments replying to each other or some stuff. I believe it is so. Melchizedek was a foreshadow of Christ. Exactly. Christ is exact. I couldn't have put it better. So Melchizedek, the Melchizedek thing that he was working with was the physical. He was a priest forever. So it speaks unto eternity, the better tabernacle that we spoke about in that Hebrew. Definitely. And Pastor BJ says the scripture that you are picking are being called into pure. So any sacrifice that is made reaches unto God, and now means you feel you have a better version, and Jesus is not good enough. Exactly, because you are now priest. In the process of doing that sacrifice that you did of the goat as a sangoma, that you are actually declaring your own life to be atoned by before you go to that ritual water. Or after, whenever. You have just declared your own process. You are finding, because the idea is that you are being reconnected right? The idea is that you are being reconnected with your ancestors. Guess what the mikvah was meant to do? In preparation for Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, it reconciled, it acknowledged the reconciliation between us and God. That's where I fear for you people. I fear for you people. Asumpumi, how you doing, dear? Exactly, man. We receive salvation once, and it is we don't keep and reviving. Exactly, you can't. We are a family. Masalani, you can't divorce your family. it is that clear. You cannot divorce yourself from him. But that's a different subject. We've handled that one before. Right now, this is just actually a further confirmation. When Jesus is on the cross and he is going there with all shame, almost naked, the same way you would go towards that Yom Kippur preparation, baptism, in death to rise. He did so in all of his shame, and he comes out having redeemed us. And so we are brought up. Our baptism symbolizes his death. It's kind of like us, we are cashing in the promise of what that death and shame that he went through actually meant for us. And so they do so unto death because they are doing it to their ancestors. Your ancestors ain't alive, dear. We do so unto Christ, the King, who lives at the right hand, capable of atoning or setting a judgment, sitting on the right hand of the Father. That's such a dangerous view there. Yenaba actually quotes Isaiah 53:5, and he says, the verse says, and he was pierced for our transgression, that shame that he suffered there, and he was crushed for our iniquity, that shame, but which was needful for that reconciliation, the punishment that was brought that brought us peace, and was upon him. By his stripes we were healed. The healing was that broken relation, the brokenness of that relationship. It was restored. Now there's something also that I noted here when you speak about the healing part. Notice that, hey, Jesus Christ, I weep for these people. Water is new beginnings, right? Speaks of new beginnings. As a matter of fact, water was the first. So in the beginning was the Word. God, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and darkness was upon the face of the earth, and the whole world was covered in water, basically. So they are declaring, remember, new beginnings. They are declaring their own beginning. Ha! You are brave. They are declaring their own beginning. The same way the mikvah was actually a sign of transition. The water represents that transition. Look at this. They are declaring their own transition. They are declaring their own new beginnings. The same way. Now, yours, the only difference is, remember, ours is unto life. Theirs is unto death because they are doing so towards their ancestors. Notice another thing. In chapter number 6 of Genesis, there is another birth that takes place. And that birth has spirit and as all flesh die in the water. So not everything that goes into the water, dare I say anything? Dare I say anything? Not everything that came out of the water was for life. Okay, we'll leave that one there. So the flood there, okay, there was the spirits that you dealt with, the Nephilims that had escaped heaven, come to defile the bloodline. Ooh, they came to defile the Nephilims, fallen angels. They had come down to defile the bloodline so that Jesus' birth is in defiled blood. God saves Noah to preserve the bloodline. Now notice how it goes back to these ones who are busy. You killed an animal. Look at how the devil preserves spiritual laws here in order to preserve it within this African demonic stuff. You killed an animal, right? The same way all the flesh that carried all those Nephilims died into the water. And when you kill that animal, then you yourself, mimicking the mikvah, then walked into the water to be initiated with all the spirits. So get what spirit you came out with. It's a Nephilim, not your ancestor. It's not your grandmother. Oh, let us solve it for you. We hope wisdom reaches you one day. Wisdom. You see, your new birth is no simple, it's no new thing. Flesh died, right? Blood spilled. That goat. The Nephilims that had embodied human flesh, they died within that water. And then when they died within that water, you go all the way into the New Testament. The Bible says that those spirits, they were caged. Some of them were not allowed to live. They are inhabitants. So they were carried unto Tartarus, another pocket of hell. And they were not allowed to live until the last days. But there are spirits that are here hovering from that Nephilim, which are now the ones that you are speaking through. So you need your incense. We won't go back there. We won't go back there. The symbolism of the practice it's something else. Leadership, Eva, how are you doing? Anything that is connected with God or any other Jesus is actually an insult. Exactly. And so they have found their own ways. They have found their own paths. And by so doing, all they do is a reconnection to demons. You are only feeding. You are feeding from those Nephilims. It's not your ancestors. Stop insulting your ancestors. Maybe they were good people. Maybe there's hope. If they didn't receive salvation, we are sorry. Aguna Anto. Leadership. Mati. Evening. The redeemed of the Lord. Temba says reconnecting with demons. Yes, that's what it is. They are reconnecting with demons because they are reconnecting to those Nephilims that have always sought to be worshipped. And guess what? You are every year there, you are there killing an animal. As a matter of fact, you don't only kill animals as a representation of that relationship you have with them. You are supposed to tie an animal skin on your. Yeah. You are initiated into the blood that you spilled. Who is priest? Will wait for you to answer that one. Then you are supposed to carry this string. The Bible speaks about the mark of the beast. It will be either on your left hand or otherwise. Then they literally walk with it. It's here. I will leave you with that one. All these cultures, the devil has crafted a proper thing for Africans. Blessings. Don't go left. I dip in the things of the course, such as the limit of words, says Mapi. Blessing says, the cross of Jesus died, and the blood of the redemption was impacting my soul, was done. Okay, that conversation is being continued with Mercy there. Okay, I see you. I see y'all. And oh God, I have a question. Okay. It says, why the Western countries changed the original name? That has nothing to leadership. The subject about the names changing. If you want to call him Yeshua, you can even buy Bibles that have Yeshua there. Okay. The issue is the meaning of the name is reserved. When you are actually, I know it is transliterating in many particular verses and in many particular thing, is the person that we are speaking about, not words, because words change. We are speaking about the person. And so I'm not a linguist. I don't hang on that particular subject. You can find people who are linguists who would discuss that one with you. Personally, I don't hang on those subjects about preserving the name Yeshua or Jesus, and why didn't they change the seven heavens of God and walked into the journey of the way? You can find people that really do kind of like deal with those subjects. Personally, as you can note by the title, my goal is to get people to believe in the person of the Messiah. The debates about names, it's not an area of interest for me. But I understand if you care about it, you can study it further so that you can answer those people that are hung up in that particular area. But for me, I am a speaker for those that are. My goal is to bring people to the message and the person of Christ. Okay, and say they believe that the Savior and also do praise and hands. I wonder, leadership. Yes, everybody will face their judgment, particularly on their view of the Messiah. The issue here, this is why he says, if you don't believe me, he says, believe, even just for, because remember, the important thing here is that they get the message. That's the important thing. They'll be judged on the message that they got. And right now, nobody can claim they have never heard, okay? Because we've been out here, we've been speaking about it. It'll be worse for them when we now go into the streets, because they will then hear it in its clarity. Preach on leadership. I am going. I hear you, leadership. I hear you, leadership. Okay, I'm trying to stay up with the comments here. Live in Soweto, and once the young found a house and saw a snake at school, and her mother called me to pray for her, and I arrived, and the teacher, which happened. Hey, leadership, what? When we arrived, the teacher, which had happened to be a woman. Leadership, can you clarify there? Or does the message end there, or does the message actually go on? I was interested in hearing how that story actually continues forward. So fascinating, the situations to explain this is, but the marriages and God never shares. This is the thing. Those spirits, like if you were to say that these relationships with ancestors actually connects you with God, okay? Speaking about the impurities that you're speaking about there, it is literally aligning God with these foul spirits. And if you go back here, if you go back into actually John chapter number 17, it says that so that they may be one with you, even as I and you are one. And so it's those that are living, that are being connected with Christ the Messiah, even as he and God are one, not those that are dead. And so to connect those that are dead with you and God, it's an insult. It's only the living that are connecting here. I'm not connected to those that are dead. I don't know them. For who? Go answer for your own. You're my uncle from where? I know you from where? Please. I know you from where? My brother, you are dead. You are there. Answer for you there. You have no. So that relationship is foul. You can say that again. That relationship is foul. We are talking about living beings here. He says, I am not the God of the dead, but the living. Jesus is alive. God is alive. I am alive. ancestor for who? So that relationship, bringing them into it, it takes us back into the sacrifice. Okay, because they are dead, right? It takes us back into the sacrifice. And so that's weird territory to go back into. All right. Okay, there's a lot of conversations between people here. Okay, so Seb actually continues the story and says that she said that she needs a cloth and a beard. And I said, no, it is the devil. Then she came home and I took a rest. Suddenly the girl cried in screams and I got up and went to the house and she was moving on the floor, I guess. Okay, so he's still telling us the story. We'll wait for the next part. We'll wait for the next part. I know it limits how many words you might be saying because it's a live stream. If it was just a normal comment, it'll just go on. So we'll wait for Brother Serb to actually tell us the rest of that story. But notice, we are baptized unto a living Messiah. Okay? They are baptized into the death and legacy of their ancestors. Dead. The relationship with God that we are called to is living. It's an insult. I said at 1 hour, 30 minutes, we'll close it off. Ne? And so then it's basically a repeat. But nothing in spirit. Yo, this is deep. Yes, it is the same thing. They have found new bodies to present whatever message they want of hatred, wickedness. So and so is a witch. So and so is doing this. So and so is doing that. That's all it does. That's all it does. Sowing discourse in families and whatnot. And so those Nephilims from back there, remember, they want to be honored. They want people to bow to them. You enter their house. How do you enter the Sangoma's house? Take off your shoes outside. What happened to Moses? Take off your shoes outside. Take off your shoes there. This is holy ground. They have declared the space. They have declared the space. No coincidence with what they are doing over there. But we'll leave them to it. We'll leave them to it. I can see why some of Zionic churches actually align themselves with those things, because they too treat it the same way. They have holy clothes, they have holy, all them things. I remember the issue when the churches and when the pastors will pray and say, I declare that you will have a job. The words declare and decree is the position. Yes, it's in the position. It's not just priesthood that you are now doing when you are saying those words of declaration and decreeing and declaring. This is the artwork of God. This is the position of God, to be particular. Go and study it properly, because you don't have the capability of doing that. You can't declare anything into being. It's God that does that. You can't give things life. It's God that does that. So, but anyways, that's a different subject, but definitely it's the same place. Is to say we have spiritual rule in certain places. And I'm not saying that you can't pray for healing. You can, but to declare healing, no, that's a different subject altogether. Okay, there are lines here. Okay, Brother Seb continues the story. Like a snake. So last time he said what? She screamed and rolled on the floor, right? And like a snake, and people gathered on top of her and they prayed for her in the name of Jesus. And she became calm. And I asked her what she saw, and she says she is troubled by a big snake dream that is in her, that is in the water. Yeah, that's how they do it. The animals, remember, the animal that initiates them or brings them into that relationship. There you go. You can't accept that spirit. It's foul. It's foul. Marine spirit. Yeah, so your ancestors there were people that were alive, right? And so, but the view or veneration of ancestors that Africans have is wrong. The idea that they are to be honored and given tribute now. No, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. And so they are there, but they are in the past. They have had their life, and we don't acknowledge their decision making for us. It is God that decides that. The Bible says He's the author and finisher. They don't author nothing. They don't finish nothing. So they couldn't author their lives. How do they then author mine? No, you're going to speak for me. By who? If I slap you. Even ancestors, I'll slap you. Know your place, demon. What do you want? Unyakai. I'll leave it. They need proper. I go Limpopo on them. Unyakai. Unyakai when. Okay, we are about to close off. We are about to close off. And let me see. The comments are talking to each other. People are talking to each other. Exactly my thinking on that one. So yeah, the spirit, the acknowledging of the spirits and the whole nine kachas has nothing to do with thingy. And also, I do see another particular comment here. Okay, Brother Simon is back and he says, I'm not debating, but the matter is faith. I do believe, but why they changed the names, make it to white? No, but in our Venek Bibles, they make them local. In Venda, they say Yesu. Now, someone might say that's taken from the Greek word, but remember, that goes into a lot of linguistic stuff, and that's not my area of thingy, as I mentioned. So yeah, that particular area, I know that you're not debating it. You're just bringing it up to enlighten that particular perspective of either colonialism when it comes to the Bible. But remember, the Bible was written before colonialism. Colonialism didn't regulate what the Bible should have. The King James Bible that we have was written between the period of 1611. That was before colonial ideologies had spread. Now, the idea of colonizing other people was not new. It was there way before that, and blacks were some of the first people to do that with the Egyptians and all that kind of stuff. But the colonialism did not influence what Bibles should write, because the 1611 King James already had that. And remember, the King James himself didn't say what must be in there. He called scholars, historians, language, linguistics from different areas, divided them up into 6-7 groups, and they went and interpreted what they were reading, and they would pass it on to another group. That process took 7 years. There are entire documentaries documenting that particular process that took place. So one verse was verted about 6 to 7 times. One verse. And these guys were all from different religions. The king had nothing to say about what was in there. They were just linguists translating what was in the text. And so colonialism did not translate the Bible. It didn't. Colonialism did not translate the Bible because the 1611 had already had that language. And so, yeah. And remember, that is happening where? Germany, in whatnot, not London. It's not the Queen that did that. It's not the Italians. It starts in Germany. And then you track that particular line of the bishop's Bible and whatnot. And so colonialism did not translate the Bible. And so, yeah. If they were doing it to translate it to their language, the names would have been German because those were Germans that were doing that. Okay. When Johann Gutenberg was doing the first printing press, he was doing it according to thinking. So that's a different subject altogether. But we did an entire live stream about the Slave's Bible, so you can go check that particular thing on that particular part. And so they did not translate, they didn't give it their language because they were from different places. Like, go do a little bit of research on the guys that translated. There's a lot of history that goes into that part of the people that translated the King James Bible. So colonialism, not the one that translated. It was biblical scholars that did that. Linguistics, to be particular. Okay. All right, Ricky, do you see the first, valid? Jews do, because it is Jewish. It is Jewish writing. It is not canon, and so it doesn't fall within authoritative scripture. So even if you die without reading it, don't worry, it doesn't bear anything new. It was found in Qumran, yes, definitely, in part of the Old Testament. As a matter of fact, the first King James had it, right? So the 1611 had it. So my copy of the 1611 has that particular portion. I forgot the Apocrypha. It had it, but I don't read those. 66 books is enough for me. All right. Okay, so there are many ways to invite the presence of Yah, and if you call him Jesus, he knows. If you call him Yeshua, he knows. And to give, that's the thing, is that it's the person. You know whom you're talking about. It's the person that we are acknowledging. If you say one who died for our sins on the cross, there's one that did that. And so you know who you're talking about. Apart from the colonialists, as we may put it. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're going to close it off in 8 minutes. So the worship of ancestors says is a worldwide demonic thing, not just Africans. Definitely. Even the Christians in all parts of the world should not entertain such. Yes. Anybody that gets involved in any of the stuff, they are defiling themselves, because there's a lot. You are claiming these people as mediatory, competing with Christ. And as that verse that I'm gonna keep this verse up, man. Because you see that verse there, it's very important to note that he was a better sacrifice. He was of a better tabernacle. Oh, my bad. It was Hebrews 9, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's Hebrews 9, not this one. Yeah, so he was a better tabernacle. He was a better sacrifice than... Let me see if I can remember it. So there it is. Okay, I found it. There. And so that part there, not made of hands. So the one to whom we are giving reverence, he went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle. No human being can claim that. There's no human being that can claim perfection. And so in order to be priest, in order for your ancestors to be honored as giving message to God, they would have to be perfect. Can you claim that about them? No, you can't. And so they have no right to be there. Christ was better than that. So that creates a big nudge for all those people that are doing those. In 8 minutes, we're going to close off. You nailed it. In Jesus' name. The colonialists didn't translate the Bible, guys. Linda, why the Old Testament changed into the New? Very good question. Remember, there was a need, as the Hebrew text would actually put it, there was a need for a better. Okay, the Hebrew text puts it like that, the book of Hebrews. It says there was a need for a better sacrifice. The reason being, the old could not be perfect because it wasn't a better representation of the person who's been forgiven. And so the issue is the process of attaining atonement, the process of attaining forgiveness. And so going through animals and whatnot. An animal is not a perfect representation of you. So the issue was that, how is this going to be perfect if it doesn't represent the being? And so Christ had to come, a better, as we were showing, than that, a better tabernacle, a better sacrifice. And not only did we need a better sacrifice, we needed a better high priest. A priest that didn't need a sacrifice for himself first. Remember, because in the Old Testament, he needed a sacrifice for himself in order to stand in the gap for the people. But this sacrifice is now better. Why do we have the new? This one is better because it is done, it's a better sacrifice, and it is done by one who is better himself than those that were doing it before, because he doesn't need sacrifice. The Bible in Hebrews also says he was tempted in all areas, but yet he was found without any sin whatsoever. We can't say that about us, but we can say that about him. You see that? And so that's why there was a need for a better sacrifice than that which was there. And so once that sacrifice was given, then Hebrews says, there is no New Testament except the death of the testator happens. So the death of the Messiah had to happen in order for that New Testament to be written out or to be certified as a New Testament. And so the New Testament was to take what was being done back then to represent that atonement process. It was to take that and say, now we have perfected that system. The system is perfected. So that's why the Hebrews text that I was showing you there, that I kept showing as actually, it says he did not enter. Okay, verse number 12. He did not enter by the blood of goats. Okay, but he entered with his own. So now you have a better that is now making a presentation of, not of something else, of himself. The high priest himself was offering himself. That's, makes sense. It makes sense. And so and it says securing an eternal redemption, which was the problem with the old. The old could not secure eternity. It only covered you for a year, right? It covered you for a year. And in that process of that year, you still had to do other things. You understand? And so, as a matter of fact, the holiday of Yom Kippur was actually one of the greatest days in the calendar, according to them. And so, once that is done and Christ has gone through that, we have a better. So the New Testament isn't actually new in the sense. It is a continuation of the old. It's just that we have a new way of calling it, or we have to find a new way of calling it. You might say so, in lack of a better word. But it is exactly the old pushed forward, because now the better has been found. The same way when they were walking in the wilderness, they used tents to represent the tabernacle. But now when they find Jerusalem, when they reach the final destination, they don't need tabernacles anymore. They build a temple. The better has been found. The better has been found. So that's what that's what that whole thing about the New and the Old Testament is all about. Is that we have a better, but it isn't new in the sense, it is a continuation. It's just that we had to call it new because of what it represents. And we go on. Very true, and I agree with the talking about many and rejection and okay. Man of God, colonialism started in 14. Okay. And we know that that's a whole different subject, leadership. About when did colonialism, but how did it affect the translation? Leadership, you understand? These people were put at a task by the king. You couldn't put your own ideas. These people were scattered. They were in all different places. That's why I say go do research about the people that were tasked with translating that. Because, yeah, it's a whole different subject, to be honest with you, and there's a lot more about it. You could not put your own ideologies, your colonial ideas with that. You were tasked by the king. And remember, if you translated your thing because you are from this area, there were other translators who were from other areas who wouldn't agree with what you wrote, and they would rebuke it immediately. So they were not there to present their views. He took people who were from different places, but linguists, scholars in their particular thing. Please go research the translation of the King James Bible. Research it. It's an entire subject I cannot get into. It's an entire subject. Those guys, they could not influence, because they were from different places. They couldn't influence what was inside. And would you want to die? I mean, like, you're going against the word of a king? I mean, like, come on, guys. That would be too much there. And so they didn't have that room of infusing their ideas, because there were other translators who were not from their area who would disagree with your translation. And so that's why I said the groups that were put there, the scripture you translate would go through multiple groups. And so it was voted by other people that would then say, does this fit the narrative? Yes, it does. Then, so there's no way colonialism, there's no way on earth colonialism could have influenced the Bible. I believe God literally took over that entire group. Whether they were believers or whatnot, God took over that entire process by making sure they could not. And remember, the King James Bible was just following in it was a process of all the Bibles that were there before it. The Bishop's Bible, whatnot, it doesn't deviate from those Bibles. It doesn't deviate from the Tyndale Bible. You can literally look up the Tyndale Bible and look at the King James. Just this. It's like this. And so there is no way colonialism could have influenced the translation of the Bible. That is bad history. Because it wouldn't, first of all, it would be a disrespect to the king. And remember, the king paid for this project. He paid. He was financing these guys where they were staying, whatnot, 7 years process for them to just finish that manuscript. So, guys, please, not that. Okay, let me continue. I hope this phone doesn't switch off. I see it starting to blink. Okay, now we're going to wrap it up now. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Why are we talking about the Hebrew and the Jewish? And the Indians and those things are not important. Black, white, those things are not important. They are not the subjects that the Bible really emphasizes on. The Bible really deals with tribes, not race. It's not about that. And so okay, so I'm going to wrap up the comments now. We have a couple of minutes left with the live research. Okay, let's go and round up on the subject. Yes, we're going to round up the subject. And so yeah, we don't want to hang on those subjects because they can take us to places where our goal is to bring those that are not saved. That's the goal of this channel. And also to equip people on their daily lives to, when they meet these people, how to communicate. And so I'm going to wrap it up now. I just want to make sure that the comments are all. Temba, what are you doing here, man?
Hey, it's low shading this side, man.
Hey, Muna, you are in the dark there.
Yeah, I'm in the dark. The lights went off. And today I didn't actually mean to interact today. I just decided to sit back a bit and just be a spectator, comment and comment and type a comment down.
Yeah, no, like I'm like, hey, this leadership is coming. We say we are closing, is coming. Leadership, you're out of order.
Yeah.
Let me check out the comments. Yeah, no, we can't complain. Can we carry on with today's topics, colonialism discussion the next time? Yeah, no, some other time. Those topics.
Oh.
Actually, we've dealt with this particular subject before. That's why I said there is no way on earth. If you care about that subject, please research the guys who were tasked with the translation. It's not possible for colonialism to have had an influence on them. So, anyways, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. Okay, so I've read all the comments. Just wanted to make sure here, and so there is a lot that goes into that. I know people are passionate about those subjects, but research
Very
them,
much so.
research them, and you will see. Just study, go and study who were the guys that were tasked with the translation, and you will see it's not possible. It's not possible. That God's hand was literally around that period because God, and remember, these guys were being killed left and right earlier on. Okay, if you go into the earlier parts of the Queen Elizabeth, what's her name? Bloody Mary, the queen that was killing off ninjas like no man's business for just holding a Bible. She once killed one for she killed a family, an entire family, because they taught their kids the Lord's Prayer. Imagine that. And so, and so by the time you get King James, King James has witnessed all these things. He has witnessed all this wickedness from his lineage. And so he's trying to rectify that. And also, he wanted to authenticate the bishop's Bible by making it more officially a king's Bible, like a king's approved Bible. Because remember, the bishop's Bible was made by bishops. It was made by the church. So he was making a Bible that was authorized by the king. And remember, back then for the king to have a Bible, that was kind of a big one. The community has suffered and doesn't trust the king. But now for the king to now give them a handover, that was kind of a big deal. You see that? So go research it and study that period. You will see what I'm talking about. I'm very passionate about that time. It's one of my, if I've ever told you, one of the things that I want to do, one of my bucket lists, I want to go to a live printing press, like a literal live printing press. It's something that I want to do once in my life, and go and do that rollout that the Gutenberg Bible had to go through and whatnot, and then come back with one of those Bibles. So it's not possible. There was a lot that was taken through by that period. And so King James had a lot that he wanted to prove. So he brought scholars only, no influence from his part. All right, so let's wrap up this subject. Thank you, leadership. Highly appreciate the comments. You guys, this live would not be complete without you guys. And so next week, what we're gonna do next week, leadership, you are saying?
Just to add a little bit, through that whole process of the persecutions, the afflictions, the tribulations against the gospel of Jesus Christ, you used to find the hand of God in it, as you have mentioned. And there's what we call the preservation of the doctrine of God through the ages, regardless of what. God has always made providence. God has always made supernatural means to make sure that the doctrine that has once been delivered to all of us is delivered generationally, so that in the end, no one may have an excuse. So basically, for the fact that the word of God is here with us today is a miracle in itself.
Yeah. Just go research that period, guys. Yeah, it's a research. Remember, when you are looking at people like Tender and those guys, they suffered. Those guys suffered just for translating the Bible into English. Go research it. We don't want to go back into that, but that is a lot. Those guys, they were being killed for literally just having a Bible translated into another language. Nothing else. Because remember, Rome had their own Bible, and that Bible was actually making Rome rich because they changed words like repentance into penance. And so by so doing, they could influence people coming to give money. But then when the Gutenbergs and when when the Tyndales and these guys came up and Martin Luther, what they did is they just solidified that something was wrong with what Rome was saying. So the translation period was literally God's handwork. And so we're going to leave it at there. But next week, guys, this is what I want us to do now. So what we're going to go to is we've shown that the process that the Sangomas are going through is diabolic and it initiates them into a certain spirit. Fine. And by so doing, they have to be their own priest. That's the thing that we have shown. Not only do they have to be their own priest, they have to bring the spirit by which they then communicate to life. Another blasphemy will then also then now go into how that speaks to the message of salvation, how that was done for us, far from what the Sangomas are doing here. And so this particular first part was important because I wanted us to bring them along. I wanted to bring the Pan-Africanists and all these people that believe that their rituals and whatnots are connecting them with God, to show them you are deceived. You are presented into another. You are being initiated into your ancestors. What rubbish is that? And so we've shown it. If they want to believe it, it's up to them. Okay? And so
there's no way you can defend it.
There's no way.
There's no way you can defend it.
The particular point here that I want to lastly speak about is that when you look at the mikvah that was done and how it is presented, you go inside with nothing that ties you to the flesh. But what do they go back into? They go in with the death of an animal to initiate them into those spirits, those Nephilim spirits in the water. Remember, water representing new beginnings. And so for them, it initiates them into death. For us, it brings us unto life. So we're going to further that particular point. Thank you guys for staying true. And let's look forward. And we pray for further revelations and for further, so that we can get clear on it. So that when we communicate, we don't just say what you believe is demons. No, we are able to describe to the dot what they are doing. It's not just demons. Let me tell you how it's demons. Let me tell you how you are initiated into. Why are you initiated into your ancestors' name? How? They will have to. If you are speaking to God, why am I speaking to you before I speak to God? How? When God says, "Come unto me without fear and with boldness," so how is it that I'm initiated into my ancestors' name? Insult. So we are able to describe to the dot. That's what we are praying for. So Bazalan, I'll see you next week on this particular live. Yeah, we shall handle this matter without fear. Without fear.
Faith.
And we will sleep like babies. Any demon that dares to.
Chief, I will see you, man.
Sharp. Thanks for coming, man. I hear it raining crazy there.
Yeah, it's raining, and the lights are off.
No problem.
But
thanks for coming.
Sure. Sharp.
All right. I think we need to talk about it more. Yeah, we'll talk about those on things. So next week we're gonna further that particular subject. So danki kia leboga, guys, for all the contributions. You can see how the contributions when you are live, it furthers the subject actually. So that's why I prefer we are live and I try to go down with the comments. Like when I end a live stream like this is nice. When I've read all the comments down, because it furthers the discussion as you are bringing verses, we read into those ones. Yes, without fear, Bazalan. No, fear is of the enemy. No, we spoke about it. We are in our right, in the spiritual. For those that are not clear, hey, should we be talking about it? Yes, we have the spiritual right of dismantling the deceptions that the devil dares to distribute. We have our spiritual right. We are functioning in our priesthood properly. May the angel slap any demon that dares. Or let me say it the way the way the book, what is it? Is the book of Jude that says, "May the Lord rebuke you." And so, thank you guys. I will see you on the next live stream. Thing is, I also see the Amara, and also thank you, Ricky, for the Bible study today. And yeah, so next week we'll also be going into the Leviticus, because I will need to go back there in order for us to finish that one. So good one, great one. Danko leadership. Jamie, nice to see you, mate. So thank you, guys. Next week we continue. Stay blessed, stay blessed. Stay blessed, stay blessed. Take down, it is done. We'll set time, leadership. Thank you.